Hey guys, Gabby here, and this video is going to be for expositors, specifically expositors who want a little more advice on how to make good boards. I've gotten a lot of compliments on my boards, and I just wanted to share with you guys what kind of goes through my head when I make these boards. Without further ado, let's get started. There are a couple things you gotta do before you start your boards. First, you gotta choose your topic. You gotta research. You gotta make an outline. You've gotta start your speech. From there, you can start your boards. But before actually starting your boards, through that entire process that I just mentioned earlier, you should be writing down notes. Some ideas that pop into your head. Some just crazy dreams that you might have about your boards. I don't know, anything. Dream big, and who knows, you could actually make it. And if not, those big, huge dreams will trickle down and give you a ton of littler, more manageable ideas. So write everything down, because you never know what will help, and you definitely don't want to rely on just your memory to bring all these ideas to you when you're actually doing your boards. I have a lot of examples of different boards I want to show you guys, and they might not seem like they go together in the same speech, because they don't. I'm going to show you some examples from my blood expos and some examples from my nursery rhyme expos. And you can see that the two different styles are completely different. Surprisingly, there are a lot of things that go into making Expos boards that most people don't realize until they actually start or gain some more experience. First of all, when you start off your speech, you're going to start off with a black board. On the back of this blackboard is going to be your title board. And your title board can be a little more glamorous. I started my title board last year as this. I mean, lots of red paint, some dripping. There's a lot of stuff going on in here, and this probably isn't the best font you want to use if you're writing a lot, but it was my title board. Just make a good first impression and break the monotony of boring boards. Now, you can have a thesis board or you cannot. A lot of people prefer a thesis board because it makes your speech a lot more organized visually. So my thesis board, when I did my expos on nursery rhymes, was actually combined with my title board. My title was A Little White Lie, and I started off my thesis with, we are going to open up some secret meanings of nursery rhymes. Then we're going to flip through some of the more gruesome nursery rhymes, and finally we'll close up on the importance of nursery rhymes. Now, there are a couple of things here I want to point out. Notice how I kind of made little puns, if you will. I said we were going to open up, and I literally opened up the book, and then stuff like that. Also, I backed the little books with a color on the background to make them pop. You can have a standard backing that borders it, or you can tilt the papers a little bit. I see a lot of people have pages that are the same size as what they want to back and just shift them or offset them a little bit. Also, I do have words on here that I cut out, which, by the way, note to you guys, if you guys want to cut out letters, make them a lot more simple than this. It took me 3 hours just to cut out little. A lot of people, when they use words, cutting out letters at least, they'll do something simpler like this kind of font, or even this that has a lot more straight lines. Make sure you cut nicely, because cutting crappily looks crappy. Also, going back to this board, one mistake that I really wish I didn't do was this one. I tried to squeeze the word importance onto a tiny little book. And importance is a really big word, and it fits, but you'll have to be this close to really read it. So, when you write words, or when you even cut out words to put on here, or if you have any words on your boards at all, make sure they're big enough for the audience to read. Point out that you don't just have to have letters and pictures. This money right here was actually out of a vending machine, and I just had some of it laying around. It's fake money. The reason I point this out is that you can be creative with what you put on your boards. It can be fake money. It can be something three-dimensional. The only thing about being three-dimensional is you have to remember that you are layering your boards and that it might get knocked off or it can cause a little bit of hassle. Run your ideas by me if it's something like that, and I can just give you my best advice. I want to show you my Humpty Dumpty board. Notice there is a lot of variety in this. Typically, when you have a board or that has a title, you want to put your title on the top or on the bottom. Instead, you can also put them like this. I actually really like this style because not a lot of people do it, and it adds variety to the round, and judges like that. Now, I talk about Humpty Dumpty, right? He's sitting on a wall, and he has a great fall. But then I mentioned that nowhere in Humpty Dumpty does it say that he's an egg. So then, what is he? And I talk about how, well, Humpty Dumpty was actually a colloquial term for fat guy. It doesn't necessarily mean that he was a sumo wrestler, but I used a sumo wrestler as a joke for a fat guy. It's a lot funnier when I don't explain it. And then I talk about how actually Humpty Dumpty was a cannon. And it was used during the English Civil War in the siege of Rochester, or Colchester, sorry. And notice that I do have a lot of interaction. Even though it's just two spots, it's still a lot of interaction. It's colorful pictures that are big and flashy. There's also some informational pictures. My main thing about this point is that anything you are going to put on, take out, move around, make sure you laminate them. Because a whole year of use and wear and tear does do a lot of damage. The next board I want to bring to your attention comes from my blood Expos. I talk about blood injury phobia, and, well, I'll just show it to you. The first point I want to talk about is this little bar thing. I've actually used this contraption in more than one Expos, and a lot of people think it's really complicated to make it, but in actuality it's really simple. To show you what it does, I talk about blood pressure and how it goes up and down. And start this out on a scratch piece of paper before we actually do anything. Really, you just cut one slit here, one slit up here, have this, measure this out first. From there, you glue this part down just where my fingers are touching. And then that makes it so that you can't push this down too far and go through the bottom. It stops you. And then from there, on this actual part right here, notice how even if I pull it up, it doesn't go all the way out. That's because at the bottom, I made this strip extend a little more so it has a bigger base than the slit I cut out. And then putting it back, that's how you do it. You can then glue this part back here down completely, as long as you keep this space right here, unglued, and this space right here unglued. That allows for movement.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break.